YouTube, what is good? It's your man Riv from Doing Film Things. I've noticed a whole lot of people keep talking about Instagram isn't growing for them. They don't get enough engagement. It's just not driving value. So if you're looking to grow on Instagram, I've got a couple very key tips for you to understand. First and foremost though, you need to know that Instagram is not a photo app like Flickr. It's not just naturally going to get you attention if you're a photographer who just shares photos. Instagram is a social media app, and that means you need to be out there doing things a little bit differently than you might expect. All right, so the first and most important thing you need to do in this entire Instagram journey is deliver value. Basically, just posting photos is not gonna cut it. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. If you wanna grow on Instagram, you need to give people a reason to want to follow you and interact with you on Instagram. That means posting more than just photos. A couple things you can do is actually post your photo and then also post some additional content like behind the scenes footage, or perhaps some written content or some videos of you actually doing photography. These things combined with your photography will actually get people to be even more interested because there's just so many photographers on Instagram. So why would someone want to follow you? It's because you do more than just show them photography. The other thing you can do is actually post content that has nothing to do with photography from a visual perspective. So for example, instead of posting photos, you can actually post memes. You can post news, you can post information. All of that stuff is totally fine on Instagram. It might look a little strange on your feed because you'll have a bunch of photos and then maybe all this random text. But you can stylize it to make it all fit by maybe putting some color overlays or some borders, whatever you want to do to make it cohesive. But the point is, you need to do more than just show photography. Only very few and very lucky people actually have their photography speak for itself where everybody wants to follow them. And if you're not famous, then it's probably not going to happen to you. Second thing you need to know is that Instagram is a game of chasing impressions. Basically, the more people you can get to see your content, the higher the likelihood that they give you a follow or that they interact with you via a like or a comment. So you have to A, be posting as much as you can, meaning regularly, almost every single day, maybe multiple times a day, depending on the type of your content. But B, you also need to use hashtags very creatively. So instead of using very large hashtags that have a lot of people using them and a lot of images, you actually want to split it up into some really big ones, some medium ones, and some smaller ones. The big ones are great because they get so much scale and so many people are looking at them. So there are some chances that people will see your photo if they keep scrolling and scrolling. The medium ones are very, very interesting because they do have some scale, although not as big as the large ones, but they're much smaller, meaning that you have much better chances of your photography shining and really sticking out. And then the small ones I think are really good for specialized things. So for example, if you are a Bronica shooter, you might want to look for a hashtag that has to do with Bronica shooters only. That way people that are like-minded just like you are using that same hashtag, and if they see your photo, they might be more likely to want to interact since you share a very common thing. Number 3 is being social. So as I mentioned, social media is to be social, not to just post photography. So what does that mean? You need to be out there interacting with people, not only those who come to you, but you going to them. So for example, you want to go on these hashtags like I mentioned earlier and actually find ones that are very specific to your interests within photography. So again, if you shoot Bronica, find the Bronica hashtag and then actually interact with people that are on there. And when I say interact, I mean comment on their posts, say meaningful things, not just like a cool photo or something like that. Maybe even DM them. I know that sounds a little strange because DMs get this like weird vibe, but if you're following a hashtag that's very specific to something that is very interesting and very particular, if you follow up with somebody in that hashtag and say, hey, I really loved your photo, X, Y, and Z, this is how I feel, thanks, it's very likely they're gonna respond in a really great way, especially if you aren't being creepy. The key is you don't wanna be creepy. The key is you wanna deliver some value via the DM. But being social is extremely important because apparently that actually affects the algorithm as well. The more social you are and the more consistent you are and the more people you're talking to, the bigger your network becomes. And of course, at that point, you might strike some friendships. And friendships are great because people start to share your work and get it out there. Number 4 is what I'm gonna call shoutouts. And basically, this just means getting other people to give you shoutouts on their audiences. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to actually tag a lot of film brands that you use when posting your photos and your content. So if you post something to your story that you shot on Cinestill, for example, why not tag Cinestill in your post? If you do that, there's a chance, especially if your photo's pretty cool and showcases something different that they haven't seen before, they might even just repost it on their Instagram, exposing you to their massive audience. So doing that in a lot of different ways will actually potentially generate some additional attention for your account. And remember, everything here is about getting people to see as much of your stuff as possible. So doing shout outs like this would make a big difference. And of course you can shout out other people you know because other people have their own audiences. So if you tag one of your friends on one of your posts and interact with them somehow, chances are they're probably gonna repost it and show it to their audience. Likewise, if you have a photographer that you really, really love but doesn't follow you back, you can tag their stuff and repost it on your stories, not on your post, but on your stories, because that's a little bit less kind of plagiarizing. But the point is, you repost it on your stories, you say, I love this image, tag that photographer, and the odds are they're gonna repost it on their audience because they wanna showcase to their audience that they have people liking their stuff. So that's a really good way to get even more people to potentially see your account. The fifth one here kind of builds on everything I've said, but it's called collaboration. Basically, you and other photographers can actually get together and do joint projects and then release them according to whatever content schedule you want. That content, as long as you mention each other and tag each other and just make it clear that this was kind of like a collaborative effort, that's going to permeate across the different networks of all the people involved. So if you grab a couple friends and perhaps say, let's do a photo challenge where we all use the same film stock and go to specific kind of subjects where we live, that's something you could then bring together and market as a group. And each one of your different friends will have their own following that you can market to. And at that point, you're getting all these different people to see your stuff. Again, it's about being social. Being social is extremely important on these platforms. There's ways to be social that doesn't dilute kind of your goal as a photographer to showcase your photography. You just got to be a little bit creative. Last but not least, this is the most important one that's given me success on Instagram and has helped me double my following over the last 2 months, is using Instagram's new features. So for example, the specific one that's hot right now is Reels. I started using Reels because it was a good way for me to take my video content and kind of expand it. The beauty of Reels is that it's brand new and therefore Instagram is really pushing it. And if you have a reel out there that gets some kind of little traction, Instagram's gonna show it to a whole bunch of people, especially on that explore page, which is kind of the holy grail of getting exposure. And getting your reels on there will get so many people to look at your content. So if you have a really good reel and you put it on there and it catches a bit of fire, you're gonna get so many eyeballs from people that would have otherwise never seen your content. In the last 2 months, I think I've created about 10 or 11 reels, and those 10 or 11 reels have gotten me thousands of impressions. When I say thousands, I truly mean thousands. I have a couple of them that are above 50,000. So doing that is a fantastic way to jump on kind of a new Instagram trend and then take advantage of it. The beauty of Reels is not only the scale, but also in photography, a lot of people are not using Reels, especially in film photography. So if you got something interesting you think you can document via Reels, I highly recommend you do that, because doing Reels is gonna not only make you stick out from the rest of the pack, but it's also gonna put you into Instagram's kind of algorithm loop that is really trying to push Reels as a product. So I highly, highly recommend it. Of course, you wanna do something that's interesting, and I'm not gonna give away my secrets in terms of what kind of Reels I do, but again, it all comes down to giving value. And for me, for example, I give value on my YouTube videos, but I also wanna give value on Instagram because so many people are on Instagram. So I use Reels as a way to showcase the things that I think give value or that maybe show something new and different, and putting that on Reels and letting it catch fire. So as I mentioned, I've doubled my Instagram following in the last 2 months from about 1,500 to now 3,400. And honestly, there's no trick there. I used Reels as a way to really expand what I was doing and get my audience to be bigger. And then once I did get that new audience, I was doubling down on that audience and interacting with so many different people, doing all the other things that I mentioned at the beginning of the video as well. So it's not a secret thing. It's also not some like crazy algorithm thing. It's just about being consistent, being creative, and really being persistent. Last thing to say is that this all takes time. This is not gonna kind of double or triple your following from one day to the next. You're really gonna have to kind of do this and be consistent, make it part of your workflow as a photographer. Every case is different, so I can't say whether yours is gonna lead you to this massive growth or not, but I do guarantee you that it's gonna expose you to a whole lot of new people. And if you jump on that exposure, you might grow your audience by whatever percentage. Ultimately, it's up to you how much you wanna take this and how far you wanna go. But the point is, it definitely will get you access to more people, and it definitely will help you grow the audience that you have. All right, that's what I got for today. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give me a like and share it with your networks. And of course, subscribe if you want to learn more things about photography, film photography, and a little bit more of my social media strategies as well. That's what I got for today, y'all. Peace.